Kid Icarus is one of the most famous Nintendo franchises, and it all started on the NES. While it doesn't have even close to as many games as Nintendo's other big franchises, like Mario, Zelda, or Metroid, it still has a significant place in the hearts of Nintendo fans. Kid Icarus stars a bow-wielding angel named Pit that must search the Greek mythology-inspired world of Angel Land for the 3 sacred treasures he will need to defeat Medusa and free Palutena, the goddess of light. One of the only angels left that wasn't turned into stone, Pit will free other warriors from Medusa's curse as he progresses through the game. Kid Icarus was developed by Nintendo's R&D 1 division, the famous group led by the late Gunpei Yokoi. R&D 1 was one of Nintendo's greatest teams, and they would release some of the biggest hits on the NES, like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! And Metroid. Kid Icarus was originally designed by Toru Osawa, who wanted to create an action game with RPG elements. Nintendo had recently released the Famicom Disk System in Japan, and that add-on to the Japanese version of the NES allowed Osawa to create a much bigger game than was possible on a cartridge at the time. Once development on Metroid was completed in August of 1986, more team members were able to work on Icarus. Many elements from the 2 games look and feel similar, leading many to call Kid Icarus a sister game to Metroid. There are even late-game enemies that look like Metroids. While Kid Icarus was released several months after Metroid in Japan, it would actually be released before Metroid in North America. While it sold 1.76 million copies, enough to be the 34th best-selling NES game of all time, Kid Icarus was never as popular as its sister game Metroid, which was the 18th best-selling game. Unlike Metroid, Kid Icarus is mostly linear. Instead of freely exploring a large world, Pit moves through the levels in a set order. He can purchase items and increase his strength by fighting enemies, but he can't typically do any backtracking. Kid Icarus does change up the gameplay occasionally to keep it feeling fresh. While the first world features vertically scrolling levels, World 2 has more standard side-scrolling ones. At the end of each world is a fortress, which does allow for exploration, and plays like a simpler version of Zelda 2's palaces. The final level changes up the gameplay yet again by being a side-scrolling shooter, sort of like Gradius. This stage is not particularly difficult, and it feels like a nice reward for making it that far. The biggest problem with the game is that the difficulty is extremely top-heavy. The first level is much more challenging than the last. Pit starts out very weak at the beginning of the game, and it is critical to take the time early on to level him up. Unfortunately, the game doesn't make it very clear how you do that, and even the instruction manual only gives vague clues. Kid Icarus did have a spin-off on the Game Boy, but the franchise was dormant for over 20 years until Kid Icarus Uprising was released on the 3DS in 2012. In more recent times, both Pit and Palutena have appeared in the Super Smash Bros. Franchise. Kid Icarus is still popular with many fans today. When IGN released their list of the top 100 NES games of all time, they ranked Kid Icarus at number 20. If you want to play Kid Icarus today, it's available on the NES Classic Mini and also the Switch's online service. Modern gamers will still have to deal with the challenges the NES is notorious for, like instant death from falling off the screen, enemies that permanently steal your items, and being transformed into a walking eggplant. But what if I told you the secret to powering up early so that the later levels will feel easy? What if I told you secret shortcuts to quickly pass through the difficult fortress levels, and even a trick to skip the third boss? And what if I told you strategies for defeating all of the game's bosses, even Medusa herself? Well, on today's episode of You Can Beat Video Games, we'll learn all of that and more. If you're new to the channel, we're doing deep dives on retro video games and giving you the professional strategies that can be used by the casual gamer. Please make sure to subscribe and click the bell for notifications so you don't miss any new episodes. Let's get started. Alright, Kid Icarus. The most important thing about Kid Icarus is getting powered up early in the game. How do we do that, you might ask? Well, there's different things that you need to do to increase different attributes, but the one that we want to focus on first is going to be our health. Whenever we start the game, we only have a single bar of health. That's that red square in the upper left corner of the screen. We can increase our health by increasing our score, and whenever we kill these shamums, which look like snakes, they're worth 100 points each. Now, I'm going to enter all of the rooms on this run, so this very first room you can ignore. That's an upgrade chamber, but we can only use that one if we beat the game and start over from the beginning. You'll notice right away that the screen allows you to wrap around from the left to the right, but you can't go backwards. If you drop off the bottom of the screen, that is instant death. It's especially dangerous when you're on these yellow platforms above here, because if you press down while you're standing on those, you'll drop through the platform, and there's a good chance you'll drop off the bottom of the screen and die. Now when you grab this harp item, it will turn the enemies into mallets for about the next 10 seconds. You will want to grab those so we can use them in the fortress level. Wrap around from the right side to the left to climb up this narrow shaft, and inside we'll find our first enemy lair. My strategy for the enemy lair is to kind of hang out in the lower left corner. The enemies don't seem to go down there very often, and then pick off the enemies on the bottom first and then kind of work my way up. These enemies are called Speck Nose, and they drop a lot of hearts. Now, the hearts are money in this game, but they aren't worth any score points, and we need to raise our score so that we can get more health. We need 20,000 points to get our second bar of health, and we need 50,000 points to get the third bar. Up here we'll encounter our first Reaper enemy. He has 10 health, and you want to be very careful to only shoot him in the back. Right now we only do 1 damage, so he'll take 10 hits. And so you want to wait for him to turn to the right, and you may want to wait for him to turn to the right twice before you shoot him, because if he sees you, this is what happens. He'll charge at you and release 4 repeats. You need to take this guy out or just try to avoid him before you go into the room over here, but make sure to grab that chalice to get more health before you enter this treasure room, because it won't be there when you come back. You want to open the top 2 treasures on the left side, and also the one on the bottom right, but don't collect anything. Then count up the number of hearts you have, and look at the chart I put on the side. That will tell you which treasure to open last. Each one of these costs 5 to open, and as long as you do it in the right order by only opening the specific one last, you'll actually be able to collect all of the treasures, as well as a special one. This time I got a bottle. The bottle is nice because if you run out of health, it will refill a whole bar of health for you. You can only hold 1 bottle at a time right now, but if you get the barrel, you'll be able to hold 8. Since we only have 1 health right now, it's really nice that I was able to get a bottle, but it could be a lot of different things. There's random treasures that the treasure room can supply, one of which is that barrel, and another is the credit card, which can only be found there. There's some more Reapers here, and I'm going to be very cautious this time. Wait for them to turn right twice before jumping up and shooting them a couple times in the back. So you just wait for them to turn right once, twice, jump, and shoot twice. And you'll need to hit him 10 times to proceed on, but it's good to just not get caught here. There's another Reaper up above. You'll take him out in the same fashion. There is no time limit in this game, so just take care of the Reapers. They're actually worth a good bit of points. They're worth 500 points. And remember, we want to get to 50,000 before we finish this level. You may be wondering how we're going to do that. There are some enemies right at the end that will continuously spawn that we can just farm. and this is them. These enemies are called McGoos. This is my spot up here. The enemy rarely spawns right here where the tree is, and you want to just duck down so that you avoid the shot and then pop up and shoot the McGoo. If it appears right next to you, you wait for it to shoot and then pop up and shoot it, and if it's a little bit farther away, you can shoot first and then duck back down, but you mostly just want to stay ducked because you can't die here. I'm speeding this up because this takes a long time, and you can pause to check and see how much score you have. We need to get over 50,000, and you won't actually get the increase to your health until we reach the end of the level, so you need to make it to the end of the level with 50,000 points to get ourselves to 3 health bars. If one's going to spawn right underneath you, you can drop off over to the left, but just hang out near the tree, duck down, and take your time with these McGoos. I've noticed that whenever I have around 900-ish hearts, that's when I probably have the score that I need, so that's the indicator that I'm looking for. And I do have that bottle, which is a nice extra safety. Hopefully I won't need to use it, but if I do, that's okay, because if you die here in level 1, you lose everything. The game only saves your progress at the end of each level, so it doesn't matter what your password says or anything like that, you're going to start over with nothing. So just be very cautious and conservative, and just keep going until you have 50,000 points. I think I'm actually pretty close at this point, but this is one of the most important things in the game. So take the time to do it. You need those extra health bars. In fact, if you die after you have a second health bar, you'll come back with 2 full health bars. And you'll need the 3rd health bar to be able to use some of the special weapons. Alright, once you have at least 50,000 points, come up here and enter the door, and we will reach the first checkpoint. Now if you die after this point, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you lose all of your bottles in the next area, if you have feathers, any consumables, because you'll get all of that stuff back. So if you don't want to do that level up loop, I'm going to die here so that you can see my password. That's the only way to get the password, but it's also, this is a good time for me to die because I'll come back with 2 full bars of health. So if you don't want to do the level up, feel free to use my password and start here on level 1-2. In level 1-2, we'll have the opportunity to increase our attack strength. The way that we do that is by building up skill points. Skill points are a very strange metric. You gain skill points by killing enemies, you gain skill points by entering rooms, you'll gain skill points by collecting hearts, but you only gain skill points for collecting hearts if you're not already maxed out. So you need to be careful to actually spend some money here if you're at 999 hearts, because that's the maximum. Entering this room, for instance, just gave us a bunch of points for entering the room, and killing all of those speck noses and collecting the hearts got us a lot of skill points as well. Getting hit by enemies will reduce our skill points, and shooting our arrows also reduces it, but it reduces it by a small amount. We also lose skill points for opening those treasure containers, but for collecting all of the treasures in a room, we'll actually gain a bunch of points. Now, I bought the barrel here. The barrel will allow us to hold 8 bottles, and it also spent a lot of my money, so I can make sure that I don't max out my hearts right now, because then I won't get any skill points for collecting the hearts. Over here is another Reaper, and right above it is one of those chalices. Make sure to collect the chalice before entering the room because it won't be there when you come back. Now you can see why I spent all that money. Defeating the speck noses inside this enemy nest will get us a lot of those skill points. We need to get at least 10,000 skill points before we reach the upgrade room. So that's what we're trying to do in level 1-2. Don't shoot your arrows too many times, try to be careful about getting hit, and we want to kill a lot of enemies and pick up the hearts that they drop. We also want to enter a lot of rooms. That's all that you need to do. You want to try to overachieve the 10,000 skill points that you need to make sure that you compensate for any hits that you might take along the way, which reduce your skill by 300 points. Here's another Reaper. We can just try to run up to the room whenever the Reaper's all the way over there to the left on the door. And right now I'm going to buy this feather. The feather will rescue us if we drop off the screen and die. Instead of dying when you drop off the screen, you'll actually fly for a few moments, which is nice. So it's a good safety item, and you can hold up to 99 feathers. Make your way up here and cross over to the right carefully. You can shoot these mono eye enemies so that they're not in your way. And whenever you kill a set of enemies in this game, if you don't collect all of the hearts that they drop, more enemies of the same type won't start spawning until you collect those hearts or they disappear. You may have noticed that I spent 390 hearts on that feather. Later on in the game, once we have that strength upgrade, we'll be able to intimidate those store owners, and we'll actually be able to get a discount. But for now, they may actually raise the price if we try to intimidate them, so we need to wait until we get that first strength upgrade before we try to do anything like that. Take your time on these platforms. I like to get up to this solid block and then quickly jump to the left. This platform is ice, so don't press down when you're on top of it, you'll actually go through. And I think it's better to just trigger that Reaper, get up onto this platform, and shoot the Reapats quickly. Then we can climb up on this platform, wait here for a moment, jump up to the top of this purple platform, and then just patiently wait here. We'll bounce back to the left in a minute. And once we get over to the left, we're going to wrap around to the right side and continue to make your way up here. There's McGoos, so we want to move quickly or they'll start popping up and shooting at us. And these octopus guys are called elusives, and you may have noticed that I shot one and it didn't die. Well, here is that upgrade chamber, and if you come in here and it's empty, that means you didn't get enough skill points, and you'll need to die and start this level over. So now that I have the strength upgrade, I deal 2 damage, and these Comilus enemies are taken out in one shot. And I'm just going to skip right by this Reaper, because that's the end of level 1-2, and we've reached another checkpoint. There's no strength upgrade chambers here in level 1-3, so you don't need to worry about your skill rating. There is going to be a store coming up though, so you may want to shoot these enemies and collect the hearts so you'll have a little bit of spending money. The Shamums are only worth 1 heart, but these frog-like Nettlers are worth 5. You ideally want to shoot those Nettlers from the platform below, because whenever you're directly across from them, they can actually duck your arrows. So I like to wait here for the Nettlers to come over to the edge and then shoot, and grab those hearts. In this room, there's an enemy lair, so this is another good spot where we can get more money. The first store that we come to here is going to be the standard kind and not the black market. In the regular type of store, if you have a second controller attached, you can press A and B at the same time, and that will cause Pit to intimidate the store owner. We didn't do it before because we were weak with only level 1 attack, but now that we have level 2, the store owners in stage 1 are going to be a lot more submissive. Make your way up here, and be careful on these platforms because pressing down could drop you through them. Up here we'll encounter some lava. Take out these mono eye enemies, and you'll see that if you don't hang out in the lava for very long, you might not take damage at all. but you don't want to sit in there for an extended amount of time because you will take a lot of damage then. And you'll see what happens when we press A and B. It doesn't work every single time, but it seems to work almost all of the time. And now we get the better prices. So I'm going to grab a second bottle since I have the barrel now. And he even thanks us for our business. Yeah, thanks man. Thanks for the discount. So you can see that you can drop through these platforms by pressing down, so be careful not to press down. And I like to take the right path over here. There are some dangerous spikes that stick out of the walls on the left side. Also on the right side here is a treasure chamber. So remember, shoot the pot in the lower right, and then the 2 in the top left. Count up the number of hearts, and based on this we see 1 heart, so I'm going to shoot the treasure pot right above the door last. And make sure not to collect any of the treasures in the meantime either, or it'll end the room. And I got a feather this time. I've been hoping to get the credit card. It's the only place we can get the credit card, but we'll hopefully get it eventually. Just grab all the treasures, and we can continue moving upward. Stay here on the right side. Be careful of these mono eyes as you move up. And you'll need to move over to the other side to be able to get onto this platform. Wait until it's moving over to the right and jump on it. And up here we can wait until this one's in the middle and moving to the right, and we want to jump over onto the other side. Be careful of these shamums, you don't want to get knocked off. And watch out for these call me loose enemies as well. They're actually fairly relentless. So make your way up, carefully avoiding the enemies. And whenever you see the call me loose enemies, if you can move up quickly, 2 of them will often drop out of the pack and you won't have to deal with all 4. I'm going to grab this harp so that I can avoid the enemies for a moment. And here we have more of those spikes. The spikes won't kill you, but they do deal damage. Stay here, take out these shamums, and then you want to jump straight up, and once you're above the spike you want to press right. So straight up and then right. Here you can just take a nice tap jump over, and then we want to go straight up and press, oh man, I almost messed that up. Alright, didn't die. We also do have a feather or 2, so we don't have to worry about falling off the screen, but you'd hate to use it now. And we can go over into this room. This is the black market, so you can't use the intimidation on this guy. This guy will never drop his prices, and I don't really have enough money to buy anything that he has, so I'm just going to exit. You can see how I quickly moved up there so that all 4 call me loose enemies wouldn't follow me. We want to just avoid this Reaper, so whenever we're sure he's moving to the left, just quickly jump up to the upper part of the platform on the right, and then you can move back to the center without being seen. Wrap around from right to left, and we want to jump up onto this first platform. There's no spikes that are going to damage us while we're riding this one, so we can wait for a good time to get onto the second one, which we should only jump on when it's moving from right to left and on the right half of the screen. Quickly make your way up to this one, jump onto this platform when it's moving left to right, and then jump over the spike on the right side, and wrap around. There's some more call me looses, so try to move up quickly, and you'll notice that the Reaper is easier to take out now. We can actually stay on the right side of the screen and hit him a couple times, and then quickly run over there and shoot him some more. This is a very important room. This is the Sacred Training Chamber. If we can survive these monoliths for about 30 seconds, we'll be able to grab ourselves an upgrade, and we'll be able to choose from 3 different ones. The best way to survive this is to stand on top of the door, but be very careful not to exit the door, because this guy will actually call you a weakling, and you won't get anything if you exit through the door. So just stay up here, shoot the occasional monolith that does come your way, but not too many of them should hit you, And now you can choose your upgrade. We're going to get all 3 of these weapons over the course of the game, but the order we get them in definitely matters because of the weird way these weapons work. I picked the Sacred Bow, but I think the Protective Crystal is also good for newer players. You'll notice I don't have the enhanced range yet. That's because the Sacred Bow isn't activated yet. We'll need to get 2 full bars of health before it will turn on. We'll need 3 bars for our second weapon, and 4 bars for our third weapon. Once we get enough health, it will stay activated until we reach a fortress. Speaking of, the next level is our first fortress, and it changes up the gameplay a good bit. I'm actually going to show you 2 ways to beat this fortress. The first way takes advantage of a glitch, which will give us a serious shortcut. These skull things are called Ganymedes, and these guys are called Kobolds. If you press the select button, you can turn on your mallet, which you can use to free these centurions that have been turned to stone, and they'll help you fight the boss whenever you get that far. If you come over here across on the right, you can take out some more kobolds and free another centurion. Watch out for the shamums that drop out of those shamum jars. And on the right side, we'll find a store. Interesting thing about stores and fortresses, though, is that you can leave the store and come back, and you'll see that he now has different items for sale. So you can actually go to these stores as many times as you want, and you can actually press A and B on controller 2 to intimidate these store owners as well, and you can get better prices. So I bought the chalice here so I can refill 1 bar of my health. In this room on the shortcut route, we're going to go down through the platform, and then we'll take the ladder to the next room below. The next room below is where we need to take advantage of the glitch so that we can make a shortcut. This glitch is hard to perform, but if we set it up correctly, we can try it as many times as we need to. The first thing we need to do is head over here to the left so that shamum jar activates on the left side and drops 4 shamums. That way none will drop out of the right shamum jar and get in our way. Then we're just going to take a running start, jump, and we want to try to clip through the middle of that top brick. I like to let go of the D-pad after I jump, and whenever I notice that I'm clipping, you just want to tap to the right and you'll kind of slide through. It's difficult to do, but like I said, if you set it up properly, you can try it as many times as you need to, and you won't have to fight any eggplant wizards in this fortress. You'll just be right here on the boss, who's named Twin Bellows, and if you can catch him right here in this spot, he'll get hung up, and you can just start shooting him rapidly by shooting and alternating by pressing B to fire and then pressing down. So shoot down, shoot down, shoot down, and he'll be defeated very quickly. But what if you don't want to take advantage of glitches? I'm going to show you the proper way to finish this fortress now. In this room, we can get the check sheet, which is sort of like the map from The Legend of Zelda, except it's not as good. In this game, it doesn't actually do anything until you have the pencil or the flaming torch, which are items you have to buy from the fortress store. This room is a hospital, and you want to make a note of where the hospital is. Whenever we encounter the eggplant wizards, if we get turned into an eggplant, the only way to get turned back is to come back to the hospital. So make sure you know where that is, just in case that unfortunate event happens. Now we're going to make our way up. In this room, there's some shamum jars, so watch out for those and let them drop the shamums before you move up. Take out these kobolds as well. And remember, if you leave a shamum or 2 on the screen, then more won't drop out until all 4 are removed and all the hearts they dropped have been either picked up or disappeared. Make your way over to the left, and here are those eggplant wizards. When you're up on the top there, you're actually not safe from the eggplant wizards, so don't feel safe up there. Here is another store. I will grab the pencil here so I can show you what that does. It's one of those items that interacts with the check sheet that we found. And make sure you hold down whenever you drop through there so that you don't get hit by the eggplant wizards. Remember, if you get turned into an eggplant, you have to go all the way back to the hospital. In this room, I like to move forward and drop down and take out the eggplant wizards. They are unlikely to be able to hit you if you're right in front of them. I'm going to use my mallet to free a few more centurions. Honestly, I don't feel like the centurions make a big difference when you're fighting the boss. The boss isn't even that difficult in this one. Feel free to skip as many of those as you want. Make your way down. And you want to make sure that you hold left when you drop off the ladder there so that you can fall over to the left. You won't be able to jump back up there. We're going to drop down here. And we need to go down again. It's really the only way that we can go. Up ahead, if we take a detour to the left, we'll be able to reach a hot spring room. And in that hot spring room, it looks like lava, but it actually heals you. And I'm going to speed this up. But wait in the hot spring until you have full health, and then move on. Take out these kobolds and make your way to the right. Now all we need to do is just make our way all the way to the right. So the path in this fortress is we go up to the top, we go across the top to the left, and then we go down the left side, and once we get to the bottom left corner, we make our way across to the right. That will get you to the boss. These guys actually drop a lot of money, so feel free to clear that room. It's a good one. And you want to just hurry through to the right in this eggplant wizard room. That's a good way to do it, and then just shoot that first wizard and quickly make your way across. You do not want to get turned into an eggplant. And you may remember this room. That's the one where we performed the glitch in the other route. And here we are at the boss. I'm going to show you a slightly different boss strategy. Whenever you shoot Twin Bellows, he kind of pops up into the air. We are going to try to use that rapid fire trick. But another good way to fight him is to just get him popped way up in the air. The centurions will hit him there, and his shots will go over your head. And if you ever can get behind him, you can get a lot of free hits in that way as well. Whenever he's defeated, he'll drop a treasure chest that contains the sacred treasure, but you don't have to actually collect it. The game will just collect it for you automatically in a few moments. So it takes the same amount of time no matter what. So just wait there for a second, and we will be on to stage 2-1. Level 2-1 is a much more traditional side-scrolling level that would have felt very familiar to anyone that had played Super Mario Bros. I think I understand why the developers wanted to show that their game was different by putting vertically scrolling levels at the beginning, but if stage 1-1 would have been horizontally scrolling, I think that may have been a lot better to help people get acclimated to the controls. In World 2, you'll notice that the store owners are no longer intimidated by us, so if you press A and B on controller 2, they'll actually raise the prices instead of lower them. Make sure to spend some money here though if you have a lot of hearts, because this is another one of those skill stages. Remember that the primary ways to get skill are by killing enemies and by entering every chamber that you see. These Rockman enemies are great for gaining skill. Whenever you kill them, you'll get 500 skill, and collecting the big heart that they drop will give you another 500 for a total of 1,000. So make sure to take your time and hit as many of these as you can, and make sure that you don't have 999 hearts when you're here, or you won't get any skill points for collecting the hearts. So it took some time there, waited until they stopped raining down, and this room is another one of those hot springs. So stand in the hot spring until you're full of health, and then we can continue to try to get more skill. Just entering that hot spring room gets us skill points though, so that's very important. And there's more Rockman enemies here, so be ready to take those on. The goal, of course, is to try to get to 10,000 skill or more before we reach the strength upgrade chamber. And we need to counteract the fact that anytime we get hit, we lose 300 skill. Here's an enemy nest, so by getting these hearts, we can actually get a whole bunch of skill, but be careful that you don't take too many hits in here. So be conservative while fighting the speck noses. Even if you don't want to fight the speck noses, you do get 300 skill just for entering the room, so at minimum you should enter and quickly exit. Make your way to the right. These enemies that pop up are called Minos, and the ones that appear out of the ground are called Girins. The Girins are very similar to the McGoos that we fought in the beginning to gain some levels, so there's a Girin right there. It looks like a weird insect with big mandibles on top of it. Take out these Shamums and any enemies that you want to, but it's not very hard to get the skill that you need in stage 2-1. These flying guys are called Mix. I can't make that up. Take them out and enter this room. This is the black market, so you can't intimidate this guy, and I don't really need anything from him, so I'm just going to keep continuing to the right. If you have too many hearts though, that's a good place to spend hearts, because remember, you won't collect any skill if you pick up hearts when you're maxed out. This is a good spot to farm rock bands and get a whole bunch of extra hearts and skill before we reach the upgrade chamber. Keep making your way to the right, and at this point you want to get up on the top so that you can go into this door. So just hop on in there. And this is the treasure chamber. Now you actually lose 500 skill for each treasure pot that you hit, but if you complete the chamber, you'll actually gain points. You need to shoot different pots in this one, so it's the two on the right and that one in the mid left. Count up the hearts, and that will tell you where the god of poverty is hiding, and this time I got the elusive credit card. The credit card will allow me to buy things at the black market if I want to, even when I don't have enough money. Although any hearts that I collect after that will be used to repay my debt, so you won't be able to get away without paying back. You'll notice that I miss a chalice by being up here on the top, but it's not that big of a deal. I definitely wanted to get that credit card, so I'm very happy that I went to the treasure chamber instead. These green frog things are called Kirons. Watch out for them as you make your way to the right. And this is it. This is the strength upgrade chamber. If this room is empty, it's not that big of a deal. You'll have a second opportunity to get the strength upgrade in this level. But for now, I'll just assume that we got it. Now we deal 3 damage per shot. Now that we have the strength upgrade, we don't have to worry about skill points anymore. But there is another upgrade that we can acquire in level 2-1. It's going to be another one of those endurance rooms. But before we get there, there's a store that we can stop at. Remember before when we tried to intimidate the store owner by pressing A and B on controller 2, he doubled the prices. Well, now that we have the strength upgrade, he doesn't double the prices anymore. And I'm going to buy a bottle for 270 hearts. No. Thank you. Make your way to the right. Take out these Kirons as they jump through the air, and we can get some of our hearts back that we just spent. We're almost to the end here, but we want to hit that endurance chamber. So keep making your way to the right. Those green cactus things in the background won't damage you. They look like they might be something that could. And there's some red rockmans here that we can fight if we want to build up some hearts. Remember before when we were in the endurance challenge we stood on top of the door? Well, it's almost like the programmers knew that that was a way to beat it easily, so they put some rocks on top of the door this time. Now we have to hang out in the bottom and try to actively dodge the monoliths by moving left and right a bit and shooting some whenever they get close. it's still not that hard to finish the challenge. And when we do, we can choose from either the fire arrows or the protective crystal. I still think if you're new to the game and you don't have the protective crystal yet, you should get it, but the fire arrows are pretty fun. These upgrade chambers often feel anticlimactic because we don't get to use the fire arrows. We need to get to 3 full bars of health before they're activated. So we're just going to make our way over here, and this is that second strength upgrade chamber. So if you missed it the first time, that's where you'll go to get it. And we're going to need to do that whole skill thing again in the next level, but there won't be a second opportunity this time, and we'll need to do it much more quickly. So it's a good thing that we're not at maxed out hearts right now, because it's very difficult to do with maxed out hearts. Even better, we got over 100,000 total points, so now we got our 4th bar of health. And right here at the beginning of stage 2-2, there's one of those treasure chambers. So make sure to shoot the 2 on the upper right and that 1 treasure pot on the left. Count up the number of hearts, and then we know this time that the one in the bottom right is the last one we need to shoot. And it is critical to do this treasure chamber properly, because this is another skill stage, and you actually can't have negative skill points, so the minus 500 you get for breaking those pots actually doesn't count against you here. And the upgrade chamber is right at the very beginning, so we need to be very careful and make sure we get as many skill points as possible here. It's actually important that we don't end level 2-1 with a lot of money, because if we have 999, it might actually be hard to get enough skill to get the upgrade here, and we certainly want that upgrade. Make your way to the right. There's going to be another enemy lair here. Most of the enemy lairs are pretty optional in this game, but these ones in level 2-2 are very important to clear to make sure that you collect all the hearts to get the skill points for collecting those. So make sure that you're able to get the hearts, because that's how you're going to get the skill points, and don't randomly just shoot your bow a lot. That will waste skill points. Over here, there's going to be some red Rockman enemies, so don't go in that door yet. That's the strength upgrade chamber. We need to kill as many of these as we can before you go in there, and make sure not to walk too far to the right so that it moves the door off the screen. That would be a disaster, and you would just want to die and move on. Once those guys stop spawning, you want to jump in there and see if you did it, and we did. We now have our 3rd strength upgrade and can deal 4 damage per shot. The strength upgrade is important, so if you didn't get it, you can just drop into the water. It's instant death if you don't have a feather, and even if you do have a feather, just use them up until you die. You'll get all your feathers back when you continue. Up on the top here, there's a hot spring, so make sure to refill your health entirely at the hot spring if you did get the strength upgrade. And now we could take advantage of those weapons that we got from the endurance chambers. You'll notice that I have the fire arrows and I have the sacred bow, which allows me to shoot farther, but I need to be careful. The enemy that was moving towards me outside of this enemy nest is called a Pluton, and if you get hit by the Pluton, he'll steal your most recent endurance chamber upgrade, so that is super annoying. To get it back, you have to either complete another endurance chamber, or you can buy it for an exorbitant price at the black market. Or you can die and start this level over, and you need to be careful and just let them jump over you and walk under as they jump over. You can't kill them with your bow. Very annoying. You can see how effective I am against these Mick enemies now. You can only ever have 2 arrows on the screen, so the enhanced range of the sacred bow can be a liability if you're just shooting arrows off randomly. So take your time and be careful, and watch out, because if you press down on top of this ice, you'll go through it, and you don't want to drop into the water below. That will kill you, or you'll have to use up one of your feathers. Make sure to take out this snowman enemy before you move onto the platform towards him, and don't duck when you're on these ice platforms to avoid the snowman shots. You just want to jump over them. Keep making your way to the right. You can stay here on the edge and shoot at the snowman upwards to take him out. Just go under this one and shoot upwards. You can grab that heart. It will be worth 10 hearts. You can just slide off the edge there. There's some Chirons. In this chamber we'll find a black market, so if you did lose an item from one of those Plutons, you could buy it back here at the black market. Carefully make your way across these platforms. These are the kind that if you press down on, you'll drop through, so don't press down on them. And then we just want to take our time on these moving platforms. Only jump to the one across to the right whenever you're at its level or higher. Jump over to that small platform. If you have feathers, feathers can save you here if you miss. You want to take out this snowman before you jump onto the platform he's on. Just take your time, there's no time limit in this game. Just wait until the platforms are at a good height to jump to. Take out the snowmen, and carefully make your way to the right. You don't want to mess it up now, we're almost at the end. There is one more enemy nest before the end. I'm very close to max down on hearts, so I'm not going to bother fighting the speck noses in that enemy nest. And I'm just going to make my way across to the right. There's only one more chamber in 2-2, and it's going to be a black market. Now, level 2-3 is not one where you need to worry about skill points, so it's not critical that we spend all of our money before we finish this level. I always consider having 999 hearts to be first world problems, but having first world problems is a problem in this game if you're trying to collect skill points to get one of the strength upgrades. And that's it. After the black market, there's just a few more of these Charon enemies. And that's the end of 2-2. And we're on to 2-3, which is another horizontally scrolling level, but this one is at nighttime. Fun. Unfortunately for fans of this style, this is the last of the normal horizontally scrolling levels. There's more of those red rockmans here, and those are good to fight if you need to get more hearts so you can spend them at the stores, but we're maxed out on hearts right now, so hearts are not super interesting at this point. Just keep making your way to the right. The first room that we're going to encounter here in level 2-3 is going to be one of those treasure chambers. It's unfortunate that we already have maxed out hearts before we hit the treasure chamber, but we still want to get the free item for clearing it entirely. This one has a black background instead of a blue background, but we still need to use the pattern from World 2, so that's clearing the 2 in the upper right and the 1 in the mid top left. Count up the number of hearts. We only have 1 heart this time, so that means it's right in the middle. That's the last one we want to get, and we got a bottle, which that's a nice bonus. Grab the hearts to make up for the ones that we had to spend for breaking those treasure pots. Remember that each treasure pot costs 5 hearts to break. And we're back to maxed out 999 hearts. Watch out for these Minos as you make your way to the right. You'll start to notice how very powerful we are with all the different upgrades we have. We still need to get 200,000 total points to get our last health upgrade, so we are working at that at all times. Keep making your way to the right. We don't really need any hearts. It will be nice when we can finally hit a store and we can spend them. Take out these mix. And this is not a store at all. Nope, this is an endurance challenge room. Once again, they've blocked the space above the door on the right, so we can't do that trick anymore. But we're a lot more powerful now, so the monoliths shouldn't be too big of a problem. And this will give us our third and final endurance upgrade. And I'll be able to grab the protective crystals, and you can grab whatever one you don't have. The fire arrows are probably the last one to get if you're a new player. So just wait and grab your last upgrade. The protective crystals are pretty awesome, though we won't be able to see what they do until we can refill our health a bit. Continue to make your way across to the right. Watch out for the Rockman enemies that drop down. And be careful as you cross under those Shamum jars. They will very quickly start dropping Shamums. You can avoid having the Shamum jars be active by leaving a Shamum from a previous jar on the screen. And in here we'll reach a store, a standard store with a shop owner we can intimidate. So now is a great time to grab some health, or a bottle, or even a feather, whatever you want, and start making your way to the right again. Just make your way to the right here. Remember, if you don't get all of the hearts, the Shamum jars won't activate after 4 Shamums have dropped out. You want to wait for this platform to get up above those spikes. The spikes won't instantly kill you, but they will deal you damage. We can actually take a lot of damage now. We have a bunch of bottles, but we don't want to have to use those if we don't need them. Make your way over to the right. There's yet another enemy nest here, and we have a lot of hearts, so the enemy nest seems very unnecessary. And just keep making your way to the right, and we're almost there. We're almost to the World 2 Fortress. But before we get there, they put more of those Pluton enemies, so be very careful of those. Try to use the platforms to your advantage. If it's crossing at the bottom, get on one of the upper ones. In here, there's another black market, so if one of your items gets stolen, you could buy it back in here. I'll grab an extra bottle since I have so much money. Might be useful in the fortress. Make your way across. There's some more platforms over lava. The lava won't instantly kill you, so if you do drop into the lava, it's not actually that big of a deal. It's not like the water that the platforms were crossing over before. Over here, you do need to be careful of the Charons as you're crossing those small platforms. Lots of enemies attack you here. The Shamum jars may not activate when there's like Minos and other enemies on the screen, and these Rockmans can be very dangerous as you're crossing these small platforms over the water here. Be very cautious and take them out before you keep moving to the right. And that's the end. That's the final horizontally scrolling level. We'll add some points to our total score, and it's time for the World 2 Fortress. The World 2 Fortress is much bigger than the one we did in World 1. There is a shortcut to complete this one as well, so I'm going to show you both ways. Come over here to the right, there's a store. You could intimidate this shop owner. And I'm going to grab the chalice so that I can get some more health. Just keep making your way to the right. This is the most difficult of the fortress glitches to perform, and it's the most dangerous one. To do this glitch, you have to deal with some lava. So this is the room. You want to jump and then quickly jump from the lava to clip into that brick on the right. And then you'll tap right to turn to the right and slide through the wall, and make sure not to press jump while you're going through the wall, or you could soft lock the game. That was the one that took me the most practice to perfect. It's very difficult. One thing that it does help is after you make the jump to try to clip into the wall, you want to take your thumb off of the D-pad for a moment and only touch it again when you're going to tap right to turn to the right. But I don't super recommend using that strategy. I'm going to show the normal way to get through, but make sure in this room that you quickly walk through to the left to take out that first eggplant wizard. If you get turned into an eggplant, it was all for nothing. You'll have to go way back to get to a hospital, and doing that wall clip will have been pointless. But that's the only eggplant wizard room you have to do if you use that trick. So that's the boss, but I'll show you the normal way to get through. We're going to drop down just like we did before, and in here we can grab the check sheet, and then we'll want to go back the way that we came. But before we do, we can free some centurions with our mallet. I still don't think these guys are very important for fighting the boss, but you know, grab as many as you want. They're a little bit more useful in this one. Try to remember where that room where you found the check sheet is, because if you need a hospital because you were turned into an eggplant, it's actually one room below that and then 3 to the left. I'm going to buy the torch this time because I bought the pencil in the previous fortress, but I didn't really show you what those items did last time, so I'll try to make up for that this time. You can see when I pause that now there's a blinking spot on the map, although we can't really make out any features of the map. You may remember that we went through the right door when we went through this room originally, but this time we're going to climb up through the top. We're not going to do that wall clip this time. These enemies are called Shulums, and I always thought they looked like the Goombas from Super Mario Bros. At least a little bit. I'm going to free this Centurion, and then we'll make our way to the left. In this room we can free another Centurion, but first we'll let that Shamum jar drop a bunch of snakes. Now they're not a problem, so we can free him, and we want to exit through the door on the left. These enemies are called Tamombos. Tamombos, at least the red ones here, drop full hearts, so this is a good place to gain some hearts. We're actually very close to a store right now, so if you need to pick up some hearts before you make it to the store, there are several rooms of these red Tamombos to fight. Take them out and head through the door on the left. We can free 2 Centurions fairly easily here, so we'll take advantage of that opportunity. We want to exit this room through the top. The next room that we enter is going to be a store. These blue Tamombos only drop the half hearts, but if you need more money before hitting the store, this could be a good place to do it. You don't want to go through the door on the right, we need to go out through the top here. So that'll take us to the store, and the store is like actually on the way for where we need to go. I'm going to buy the pencil this time, so that you can see how the pencil and the flaming torch work. We actually need to go right from the store, but if you go to the left, there's a hot spring over here, and I'm going to speed this up. We definitely want to take advantage of this hot spring to fill up our health entirely, and you'll notice that we don't get to use our sacred bow and protective crystals and fire arrows whenever we're in the fortress levels, which is unfortunate. The next room has eggplant wizards in it, but it's actually okay to be turned into an eggplant here. It's not that big of a deal. We're going to be heading through a hospital to get to the end, so I'm going to allow myself to be turned into an eggplant so you can see what that looks like. Wait for the spears and then head down, and you want to hold to the right as you drop off this ladder. You can't shoot your bow while you're an eggplant, but this is that hospital where the eggplant curse will be removed from you for free, and you can see where that is on the map, so remember where it is in case you get turned into an eggplant in one of these next rooms. You may remember this room from the shortcut route. This is the one where we would pass through the wall. So you know we're very close to the end now. Wait for these spears and then quickly drop down. We want to head to the left through this room, and the next room is going to be a store, but the room after it has eggplant wizards. So that is very dangerous. You want to just quickly move to the left when you enter this room to get under those eggplants, and then get right under this one and shoot him as he moves to the edge of that platform. That's the safest way to deal with those. If you mess it up, you gotta walk all the way back to where that hospital room was. We need to take this room carefully because the next room is where the boss is. His name is Hudra. I'll pause very quickly so you can see what our route looked like on the map and get an idea of what the pencil and the flaming torch actually do. Hudra isn't that difficult of a boss. Whenever you get into the room, start shooting fairly rapidly so that your centurions can get some damage in. And I like to get onto this right platform and take shots at Hudra when he's coming across from the left and as he turns around on the right side. Make some slight moves so that he'll bounce over you, and you can also shoot him upwards as he passes over. You want to try to do that rapid fire shot by shooting and then pressing down between shots, so it's like shoot down, shoot down, shoot down. You want to have a good rhythm with it. If you don't have a good rhythm, you'll just start ducking like that, and no shots will come out. Don't drop into the lava, you'll take damage, so just hang out here on this right platform, wait for the boss to get close, try to do the rapid fire if you can. It's not necessary though, just do little jumps or make slight adjustments to move out of his way. And if you can let him go over you, then you want to shoot upwards. That's another good way to hit him, but the time I get the most hits in is as he turns around on the wall on the right or as he comes across from the left. So those are good opportunities to shoot him. He does have 200 health, so this boss takes a little while to kill. And once he's defeated, we'll grab the treasure and we'll be on to stage 3. Don't miss an opportunity to fill up your health here at the beginning of Stage 3-1. World 3 is known as Sky World, and it features more vertically scrolling levels, although I think these ones are a bit easier than those that we faced in World 1, the Underworld, although be careful because those cloud platforms, if you press down on them, you'll drop through. The same rules from World 1 apply. You can drop off the bottom of the screen and die, so be very careful about that. But the levels here in World 3 are shorter, and because we're more powered up, the enemies are easier to deal with as well. These floating knights are called Collins, and you want to make sure to shoot every Collin that you see and collect the hearts that they drop, because level 3-1 is home to the final strength upgrade chamber. So that's right, we need to build up our skill points once again. This is a short level, so we need to take every opportunity that we can to build up the skill. This is one of the ones where sometimes you enter the chamber and it's just not there. So be very careful as you climb up here. You don't want to take any damage because you lose skill points for that. And you certainly don't want to just randomly shoot off a bunch of arrows. That would be a mistake. Up here we'll see the power of the protective crystal enhancement. If you just stand here, the Reaper will run into your protective crystals, and you can shoot upwards to take out the Reapats, and that's just a very easy way to remove that Reaper. Jump onto this platform when it's in that position, and make your way over to the right to wrap around to the left, Watch out for these holer enemies. They're like the McGoos from level 1-1. And this enemy is a Pluton fly. This guy can't be killed, and he'll steal the enhancements that you got from the endurance chambers. So you want to kind of bait the Pluton fly, like get into his line of sight and let him fly over, and then move upwards. So right here, he's going to fly over, jump over. You definitely don't want to get hit by those guys. They permanently steal your upgrades, and you'll have to do another endurance chamber, or you'll have to buy it back at the black market. Make sure to take these opportunities here to gain some more points. We're almost at the chamber here where the upgrade is. This is it right below us, so any enemies that you see here you can take out for a few more points, but we got it. And now we are powered up to full strength. Now we can deal 5 damage. If you didn't do it, you do want to die and not proceed on here. That's the last opportunity to power up your strength, so you definitely want to be strength 5 before moving on to stage 3-2. Stage 3-2, of course, is another vertically scrolling level. This one has a bunch of moving platforms. You can let that one push you through to the right, and then you can get up on the left side. Take this platform as it moves right and get up onto that platform. Be careful on the clouds. Remember, if you press down on a cloud, you'll drop through it. We'll wait for this platform. Take it as it's moving to the left. Yes, of course, that thing can damage you. Now, we don't have to worry too much about the Reaper anymore. We're very powerful with our level 5 strength. And the protective crystal will actually protect us from these Shamums now. In here, if you need to, you can actually do another endurance room. Like for instance, if you lost one of your upgrades. But if you didn't, well, you can see what he says now if you leave the room early. These enemies are called Komedos, but they sure look like Metroids to me. With our level 5 strength upgrade, we can certainly intimidate this store. It's possible that it won't work randomly, but it seems to almost always work for me whenever you're at strength 5. Make your way up through the not Metroids. Totally not Metroids. Never seen a Metroid before in my life. Don't know what a Metroid even is. You don't want to die here, but if you have some feathers, they can help you out in this part. So if the platforms line up in the middle, you just want to quickly jump up through. Otherwise, take your time and pick your spots. Falling off the bottom of the screen is not good. Wait for this platform to go all the way over to the right and then jump up to the left. Make your way up and just wrap around. You don't have to worry about falling off the edge. You can just wrap around to the left here. We do want to start thinking about collecting enough hearts to get the game's best ending. So this game will give you a different ending depending on how many of your stats you actually maxed out. So if you have 5 bars of health, that's one of the stats you need to max out. If you have the 5 strength upgrades, that's one of them. If you have all 3 upgrades from the endurance chamber, that's another one. And the last one is having 999 hearts. So whenever we get to the final level, we want to be fairly close to the 999 hearts to ensure that we'll be able to get enough to get the game's best ending. I am going to show all the endings though, so you can see all of them at the end of this video. Just keep making your way upwards here. Wrap around the screen when you need to. Over here we're going to jump up to the left. And then head over to the right. This is a very oddly placed hot spring. It feels very generous of the game to give us a hot spring up here, but take advantage of it. That's very helpful. And up here is the goal. And that's it. Stage 3-3 is the last of the normal levels. After that, there's just a fortress, and then the final side-scrolling shooter level. 3-3 is a bit longer than the previous two, and it doesn't have a lot of chambers, just like all the levels here in Sky World. Take your time as you move up here through the Komatos, which definitely aren't Metroids. That harp will buy you a few minutes to get up these platforms without being attacked by enemies. You want to kind of go up through the platforms when you can stay in the middle of those spikes. Head up to that cloud in the middle. If you have any feathers here and you make a mistake, the feathers can bail you out. And you can actually go up through the clouds, so don't worry about going around them when you jump upwards. Just keep moving up. Here's a black market, but if you're trying to get 999 hearts at the end of the game, it may not be a great idea to buy stuff at the black market right now. Jump up through the clouds. There's going to be some of those holer enemies, so you want to move quickly upwards here so you don't get attacked by them. But remember not to duck under their shots when you're on the clouds. We all know what'll happen, you'll drop through and die. Or at least use up a feather. Make your way up here. We're fairly close to the end now. The fortress in World 3 is a difficult one. There's a lot of rooms. It takes up almost the entire check sheet. But there is a shortcut that we're able to use. We can take advantage of another one of those wall clip glitches. And this time, it allows us to skip most of the fortress and the boss. It's also another one of the easy ones that you can do in a room where there aren't any enemies attacking you. So you can just keep trying it until you make it happen. Of course, I'm going to show you how to beat it the normal way as well, but this is probably one of the most interesting tricks in Kid Icarus coming up here. So get ready for that. And then once we finish the World 3 fortress, it's just the final level and Medusa left. So make your way up here. There's a store on the left if you want to grab a last minute item. Might not be a bad time to pick up a bottle. You won't really need feathers from this point on. And over there on the right is the goal. We have the 999 hearts now, and we're also past the 200,000 points we need to get the 5th and final health upgrade. I'm going to show you the shortcut path first. Whenever you drop down into this room, you want to hold to the left so that you get underneath the eggplants, and then you can go down to the bottom. When you get to this room, you want to head over to the right, and we're trying to get to the lower right corner, but to do that we need to come up through this room, make your way across. There's a hospital here. You may want to note where this hospital is in case you get assaulted by eggplant wizards when you're not trying to do the shortcut route. But we can avoid all of the eggplant wizards if we take this shortcut. This is actually the last room. We can intimidate this guy if we want to buy any items, but our health will be completely refilled when we get to World 4, and that's the trick. That's what it looks like. This is the cutscene at the end of the 3rd fortress. And you'll see that we proceed right on to the final level. So how do we do it? We want to jump into this wall, and right as we pass through the edge, you need to jump. We weren't supposed to jump when we did the previous trick in the World 2 Fortress, but we do want to jump here because that's what triggers the trick. And if you do it perfectly, you'll skip through. But what if you don't want to use glitches? Let's take a look at the normal route. I'm going to go and get the check sheet first, so you can see where that is, but that's completely optional. So you'll come up here, and there it is, the check sheet, or the map if you will. And once you have it, you want to come back the way that we came. So just head through here and go down. So now we're back to the starting room, but we have the map. When we drop down this ladder, we want to hold left and down, just like we did for the shortcut route. Cut through this room. These enemies are called Tross. And this room with the red trosses, we want to go left this time instead of right. Remember that over to the right there is a hospital if you need it. And in this room, if you need to refill your health, you can come down here. But you do risk going through those eggplant wizards. If you don't need to refill your health and use the hot spring, which is located down here, which this is the lower left room of the fortress. But if you don't need to come down here, don't come down here. Don't risk getting turned into an eggplant. So once you've refilled your health, make your way back to the right. Be very careful to avoid those spear traps. I was a little bit reckless with them heading through, but I knew I was heading to a hot spring. And this is the room where we could have gone over here and climbed up before. But instead we went down because we wanted to go to that hot spring. This room's tricky. You need to start jumping right after the spear fires at the bottom. And when you jump up to the top level, make sure you jump outwards to the right. That's the only way to get through it without taking any damage. There's some red tross in this room. Make your way up through the top. These enemies are called Uranos, and there are red and blue varieties. In here, we're going to climb up yet again. And once we get up to the top, we're going to go left here. We can't go through the top. That ladder's too high for us to jump to. Be careful of these eggplant wizards. Wait for them to fire before you go through. And then drop down. There's some more tross in this room. And we're going to climb up. We're making our way to the very top of the fortress. And once we get to the top, we're going to cut clear across to the right. This room is very dangerous. Let that Shaman damage you so that you get some invincibility frames to pass that eggplant wizard. That is a great way to do it. It's worth taking the damage. So let a Shaman hit you and then walk by that eggplant wizard, which hides out in the bottom of the screen. He can very easily shoot up an eggplant that'll get you, but if you're invincible because you just took damage, that eggplant won't be able to transform you. If you do get turned into an eggplant in the previous room on the left there, you need to go down and then one screen to the left to find the hospital, but it'll be a big backtrack to get back here. This is the last room before the boss, so you can buy some extra health here. And then we're in. This is Pandora. Now, I'm not a Greek mythology scholar, but I don't remember Pandora being a weird floating bubble. In any case, you want to avoid those two bubbles that are bouncing around the room. You can't remove those. And just shoot at Pandora whenever you can. If she disappears, you can look for her outline, which can be hard to see in certain areas of the screen. And when you shoot her with an arrow, she'll be revealed again. Whenever you have a good opportunity to do so, you can try to use the rapid fire shot as well. Pandora is not that difficult of a boss, but it can take a while to beat her. So just take your time, focus on avoiding those bubbles that are bouncing around the room, and take your shots whenever you can. And in a few more shots, Pandora will be defeated, and we will have all 3 sacred treasures. It's time to take on Medusa. And now we will equip ourselves with the 3 sacred treasures. The mirror shield, which can block enemy projectiles, even Medusa's. The light arrows, which shoot beams across the screen. And of course, the wings of Pegasus, which allow Pit to fly. But don't worry, we won't get too close to the sun. We're not going anywhere near it. It may seem like all fun and games here in the palace in the sky, but it most certainly is not. You need to try to kill 50 enemies before a certain point in the stage, or it'll loop over and you'll have to repeat it. So try to kill as many enemies as possible, and you're also trying to get to 999 hearts so that we can get the game's best ending. This guy that falls apart is called an Aranus, and these sirens that fly at you are a very good way to kill a bunch of enemies. Make sure to pick up the hearts that they drop quickly so that more of them can spawn. So quickly pick up the hearts. These enemies are called Daphnes, and same thing with them. You want to shoot them quickly and pick up the hearts so that more can spawn. And the walls in this stage are more of a suggestion than anything. Don't be too worried about them, you can just fly right through. These guys are called Zuris, and they're some of the last enemies that you're going to be able to fight before the stage loops. So take out all of them if possible. And right over here, there's going to be a few more Zuris, and then you'll notice the stage turn to red. If it turns red right there, that means you killed enough enemies, but if it didn't turn red, that means it's going to loop over. And if you did it, this is it. This is the final boss, Medusa. Medusa is a super easy final boss. If you just position yourself slightly below the pupil in her eye and just keep shooting, she won't be able to hit you and you'll just be able to do as much damage as you need. The snakes that come out are called Thanatos, and if you need to avoid one of those, as long as you're not shooting, Medusa's shots will be blocked by your mirror shield, so you can just move out of the way and then move back into position. And after a few shots, Medusa will be defeated. Now it's time to sit back, relax, and enjoy the cheesy ending. And there's a lot of flashing patterns here, so if you're sensitive to that, I wanted to warn you about it. This is the game's best ending. Palutena turns Pit from Kid Icarus into Man Icarus, and then she gives him a kiss, which makes the background appear. It's a pretty nice ending. That's the best ending, but if you only maxed out 3 of the 4 categories, then Lady Palutena will turn Pit into the man, but there's no kiss and no change to the background this time. If you were only able to max out 2 of the 4 categories, Pit will get this plumed helmet, and if you only max out 1 of the categories, we'll see Pit with this plain helmet and spear. If you were unable to max out any of the 4 categories, then Pit gets this farmer hat and scythe. That's actually tricky to do. And that's it. We've beaten Kid Icarus. Well, I hope this video was able to help you defeat Medusa and finally free Palutena from her evil clutches. If it did, make sure to give it a like, and be sure to subscribe for more videos, because there will always be more mythological monsters for us to slay, and that's why we'll be back again next week with another video game you can beat. Thanks for watching.